let's get started with the final quarterfinal from the Precon bracket tournament. We have on the left hand side in the yellow sleeves the Block Rockers deck, and on the right hand side in those stylish grey sleeves we have the Rise of Dragonoids deck, the mono fire deck that made it so far. So Block Rockers obviously has a strategy of establishing a big blocker wall and getting that late game value with cards like Bliss Totem or Neon Cluster. So I would say that Block Rockers has the advantage late game, and Rise of Dragonoids will probably have to go on the offensive. And yeah, already this Zepimetrius shuts down a lot of early aggression that the Rise of Dragonoids deck might want to do. So let's see Deadly Fighter hitting mana. That Deadly Fighter would have been amazing if that Zepimetrius wasn't on board, so it would have probably already taken some shield. So we already see those blockers from the Block Rockers deck getting a lot of value, which is why I would guess that the Block Rockers deck would be favored in this matchup. But then again, there are Comet Missiles and blocker removal in the Rise of Dragonoids deck, so we'll have to see what happens. Either way, it's a Block Rockers match, so I expect this to take quite long. The video is of course played at 1.5 times speed, that is to alleviate some of that. But yeah, anyway, let's get back into the game. So Magma Dragon Magars hitting the board and Torch Thunder starting to swing for shields. Block Rockers deck hasn't really done anything for a bunch of turns, just played an Energy Stream and now a Charmeleon. Yeah, it seems like at this point at least Rise of Dragonoids will be allowed to take some amount of shields because that Zepimetrius is weak. They need the big blockers, the big boys, the 6000 and 5000 power blockers to be able to effectively deal with the Dragonoids threats. And Cocolupia hitting the board. Of course, Touch Tender gets Power Attacker plus 3000, but it's still at 2000 power, so it can be traded down by Charmeleon, and that's probably wise because I think using Charmeleon's effect now might be a bit too risky. But let's see what happens. There's a Thresh Krogger taking Madrillion Fish and probably playing Madrillion Fish this turn, so that's already a wall of 3 blockers. Oh, never mind. Okay, doing Spiral Gate instead, I guess, just so they make sure that Charmeleon lives through this turn, because if they played Madrillion Fish and they had Comet Missile or something, it might be risky. And there it is, Comet Missile, getting rid of Thresh Krogger, so it seems like the correct choice to Spiral Gate the threat. So Charmeleon will live, which means that they can start using its effect and generating some value, and we're already, not Thresh Krogger, what was that guy's name? Hazard Krogger, hitting the board a 6000 power blocker, so already, I didn't see what they took with Charmeleon, I think it was Bliss Totem, but already, yeah, starting to generate a whole bunch of value. But Cocolupia allowing them to summon 2 dragons at once, which have speed attackers, so they're just going in trying to kill that Charmeleon, but of course, they will get blocked by the small Zepimetrius. And Charmeleon will live for another turn, which, yeah, it's kind of dangerous, and that Hazard Crawler is going to be blocking a lot of threats. Already Block Rockers starting to get their engine going, and yeah, this might be difficult to recover for the Dragonoids deck. Taking Psyforce from there, and there we go. If Psyforce hits the board, that doesn't even die to Comet Missile, so I'm pretty sure there's no card in the Dragonoids deck that can deal with Psyforce. Finally, Tornado Flame taking out Charmeleon, but it might be a bit too late because Psyforce is hitting the board, and as I was saying, I don't think there's any piece of removal in the Dragonoids deck that deals with that. I mean, Psyforce is 7000 and yeah, doesn't die to Comet Missile, which kills things for 6000 or less, or Tornado Flame, which is 4000 or less. So I think that Psyforce will just stick there now until the end of the game. Psyforce is really strong card in this matchup, but there we go, Comet Missile killing one of them. And do they go in? I don't think you go in here because, yeah, it doesn't make sense. You can get one shield, but then you lose your entire board and it feels bad. So maybe by some miracle you can amass a critical Like, you can get a critical mass of creatures to at some point go for shields, but yeah, that's gonna be tough because you already saw that with Cyphers they took an energy stream last turn, so they're gonna be drawing a whole bunch of cards now, and yeah, ooh, Neon Cluster? Neon Cluster and Madrillion Fish hitting the board, that's interesting. Or maybe not? Ah, okay, decided to change their mind and play instead Cheng Peng and Kanesil, which I think is better because Cheng Peng can just tap one creature every single turn, and together with Cyphers that means that one creature dies every single turn. And yeah, if they draw Tornado Flame or something to get rid of the Cheng Peng, then that's good, but otherwise, yeah, something's dying every single turn, and it's very difficult to believe that the Dragonoids deck will somehow recover from this position. And there we go, yeah, losing their Bruiser Dragon now. And when Bruiser Dragon dies, of course, you have to kill a shield. And yeah, the engine is on board. This like, combination of creatures where you have... Oh, wait, going in with Fire Sweeper, because yeah, there's no big enough blocker that can block it here, but like, Block Lorcas doesn't mind losing a shield at this point. I think, yeah, it's whatever. As I was saying, this combination of creature where you have Bliss Totem to generate mana, Neon Cluster to get card draw, Cheng Peng and Cypher's Duel to kill a creature every single turn. If you manage to get all of these on board, I think it's very, very difficult to come back. And Thresh Crawler, I didn't see what card they took. I think it was Cosmogold, which allows them to get a spell from mana every single turn as well. And together with Bliss Totem, they can recur that spell, and yeah, I mean, it's just looking really good. Summoning another big blocker though, just playing it safe in Subskin. And of course, yeah, Cheng Peng will tap something. I guess the Volcanodon? No, the Toto Pipichi. I guess scared of the speed attackers a little bit. But maybe the Volcanodon was better because they can just kill something for free. Or, I mean, if they block you, you lose your Subskin. Or they can get a shield for free with Volcanodon, but again, I don't think they would mind losing the glass shield either. They don't even attack with Volcanodon because, yeah. At this point, it's it's starting to look really bad for the Dragonoids deck. I mean, it was looking bad already, but yeah, I don't know what they can do. And the second Cheng Peng means there's two creatures that are dying every single turn, so if Dragonoids want to stick creatures on board, they have to play 3 creatures per turn, which of course is not happening because there's no card draw in that deck. Maybe when Block Rocker starts swinging for shields, but at that point the game is probably already over. Let's see. Just a whole bunch of shit happening here. Honestly, I mean, does it even matter at this point? I would maybe even start swinging for shields here, but I guess, yeah, next turn you can just wipe the board, have a clean slate, and start going in that way to just be extra safe. But yeah, there's not much that can happen here, but let's see. And I think the top deck was Furious Onslaught as well, which gives Dragonoids power and makes them double breakers, but at this point that card is just a brick, it doesn't do anything. So yeah, I mean, at this point look at that, there's like half the deck in hand for the Block Rockers deck because of Neon Cluster value. They have so many options, and it's very difficult to to believe that Dragonoids would come back from this. If I were in a tournament, in a live tournament setting, I would have just GG'd. I would have scooped at this point, but yeah, we have to see the game until the end. Maybe something miraculous happens, you know. There's an Aqua Surfer as well. So yeah, together with the 2 Cheng Pengs, then the board really will be completely clear, and Neon Cluster keeps drawing cards, and Cypher's breaking 2 shields as well, so there we go. I'm not sure what... Yeah, there's 2 Cheng Pengs tapped, and Bliss Totem killed one of the creatures. There should be another creature tapped, like the Subskin or something, but I mean, at this point... Yeah, we're just going through the motions, and there is... Block Rockers is presenting lethal on board if Cypher's double breaks. Yeah, and they're thinking about something. Probably the most stylish way. Like, do I clear the board or not? There is no Holy O in that deck, so you know you can't hit a trigger and lose of that. I mean, playing 2 creatures, can't even play them anywhere. And yeah, Cheng Peng will make sure the board is clear as well. And Cyforce will double break. There's a Phantom Dragon Flame, but it doesn't matter. Game is over. Let's move on to game 2. We saw the power of the Block Rockers deck in game 1, but of course they went first and they had all the time in the world because of that early blocker to establish their board. I think like Rise of Dragonoids has to be way faster than that if they want to beat this deck. Maybe with some turn 1 Braid Claws, maybe with some early pressure. I think if you let Block Rockers have its game plan, then you're not gonna win. You really need that early aggression. So let's see if Rise of Dragonoids is capable of that. Maybe even establish either a big board of dragons or a wide board of Dragonoids together with Furious Onslaught. I think that's how this has to be. Seems like a tough mana choice for turn 1, and they end up putting Torchender in mana, which, no turn 1 Deadly Fighter, and there is even a turn 1 Vest. So again, a very strong start for the Block Rockers deck, which is scary. There's not even a turn 2 play from Rise of Dragonoid, so that early aggression really is not going well. But there is a turn 3 Cocolupia, which is probably the best turn 3 play you can have. Maybe you even Spiral Gate this, maybe you don't. There's a Spiral Gate, because now you're setting them back a lot, and again, if there's no early pressure, you can get to your like Bliss Totems, to your Neon Clusters, and then really just snowball the game from there. So let's see, Cocolupia re-hitting the board, which means next turn maybe we see some dragons, but there's a Cosmogold, which is not really what you want to see here, but it is at the very least a body, and you can use its tap ability to maybe get another Spiral Gate into play. But Bruiser Dragon is a threat. It's like, it's a 5,000 power creature. There's nothing on the board that can deal with it. And there's a Hazard Crawler here, so there is the blocker that answers that with 6,000 power. But we know there are Comet Missiles in that deck, and there is a Comet Missile now, and what was that card called? Gazarius Dragon, or whatever the fuck it's called. And Bruiser Dragon starts to swing for shields. But yeah, we have 2 big dragons here, which, it might be, we are starting to feel the pressure. And yeah, Cosmogold using its ability to get a Spiral Gate back. Cheng Peng is there, which would normally kill 1 creature per turn, but there's actually nothing that can attack here, so yeah, it's a bit awkward. The board is starting to be massive, and there's a Pyro Fighter as well to add a lot of pressure here, and there's no shield trigger. So actually, even though there was not that much early pressure from the Dragonoids deck, because Block Rockers couldn't really like put up any big threats, then it's looking a bit awkward. And yeah, having to play Thrashcrawler and Spiral Gate, I guess something got bounced. Maybe the Bruiser Dragon got bounced, but he's gonna replay it anyway, so yeah, there we go. So you're having to Thrashcrawler to Spiral Gate to slow them down, but that's not gonna be enough. They need more. They need like more big, beefy blockers like Subskin or Hazard Crawler, and there's Subskin. Okay, yeah, that's gonna do it. That's gonna put a real big dent into the aggression from the Dragonoids deck. But there's, next turn even, there's 6 attackers, and there's 1, 2, 3 blockers with 2 shields, so actually presenting lethal on board, assuming there's no shield trigger, and yeah, they can just go for lethal here, but it's like so risky, because if you hit 1 shield trigger, you just lose your entire board. And yeah, passing the turn, it's like so risky to go for a game here. Maybe you take the chance anyway, but maybe you wait for another Comet Missile to have a clearer shot, or like you even have Pyro Fighter next turn, so maybe you wait for that. But Spiral Gate is tough. Bruiser Dragon, maybe now you use Cheng Peng to trade, but instead opts for getting more mana with Bliss Totem. And they do use Cheng Peng, but that means that Subskin will have to trade out one of them, which I think arguably was a misplay because, okay, you want to get at least one tap from Bliss Totem, but maybe you wait to stabilize a bit more. But yeah, Tornado Flame, and even if he hadn't attacked with Subskin, there's still lethal on board. So let's see, if there's one trigger, then that misplay will get punished, but let's see, Thresh Crawler blocking one of them, and there's no trigger. GG. Game 3 of this quarterfinal. It's already been a long match, and it's about to get even longer. The deciding game here, last match maybe a bit of a misplay from the Block Rockers deck, but it didn't end up mattering because of that Tornado Flame and the lack of shield triggers. So let's see what happens here. I think if there was like 1 or 2 more turns, Block Rockers could have stabilized. But like I was saying in game 1, it's that critical mass of attackers that, yeah, really put a dent in the Dragonoids deck plans. And Deadly Fighter Braidclaw hitting the board on turn 1. Is there gonna be a blocker to answer it? No, but there is a Spiral Gate to at least slow it down. I will say that that helps. Like, Braidclaw is not gonna be taking shields now, but it's really not ideal. With a deck that runs that many blockers, you have like Zepimetrius, you have like Madrillion Fish. It's really not ideal that Braidclaw has to get Spiral Gated, and even then, okay, it will get traded by the Sadonis, but Braidclaw will still be taking a shield, which against that deck, you really don't want to see. But it is what it is. I mean, what can you do? Let's see what happens here. There's a Kanesil. This guy would have been useful last turn because, yeah, it could have just killed off the Braidclaw for free instead of letting him get one shield that might be relevant later. There's a Bruiser Dragon for 3 mana because of Cocolupia, and there we go. Now, not ideal turns from the Block Rockers deck. Like, on... yeah, you really want to be hitting your Bliss Totems and such, and there's not even a Subskin or a Hazard Crawler to answer the Bruiser Dragon, which is tough, and there it is, Bliss Totem hitting the board, but 0 cards in hand for the Block Rockers deck, which is a bit tough, and Comet Missile. Wow, okay, so that means that it's go time, right? I would have maybe saved the Comet Missile for a bigger blocker, because Kanesil doesn't really do much against the 2 Bruiser Dragons, but I guess you want to be efficient with your mana. Plus it does something against the Gazarius Dragon, or whatever the name of that was. I honestly can't remember the name of that card. It was something with G, I think. But anyway, Galzaberius Dragon, something like that. Bruiser Dragon gets bounced, and will this Bliss Totem use its ability, or do you kill the Bruiser Dragon? I think, yeah, unfortunately you kinda have to kill the Bruiser Dragon because you're in a really bad position, though you would have really wanted to use the ability of that Bliss Totem. Maybe it was still good to use it once. And now it's tough. Now it's actually looking tough for Block Rockers. They need those big blockers. They need Cyforce, they need Subskin, they need Hazard Crawler. Cyforce especially would be spectacular because it doesn't die to Comet Missile, but let's see if they have it. I think Cyforce would be the path to victory, but unfortunately just a Hazard Crawler, which is still good. Like, it still stops the attackers in their tracks, but it does die to Comet Missile. Though already 1 Comet Missile has been used, so maybe they don't have it. It's still good, like 2 blockers, stopping the aggression, trying to stabilize here. It's... yeah, let's see. It seems like there's an energy charger in hand. You can play that this turn to have the Bruiser Dragon get a shield for free, right? Or at least kill one of the blockers. And that's what's happening here. Bruiser Dragon is at 7,000, so it cannot be blocked here. Or if you block, you lose one of your blockers, which is what they opt to do. I guess that's that's fair, because that could also die to like Phantom Dragon's Flame, and in that case it hasn't stopped anything. But yeah, maybe you still wanted the one card from the shields. Energy Stream, there we go. It seems like not the best draws. I see a Fairy Life and I see an Aqua Surfer, which... yeah, you really wanted to see that Aqua Surfer in shields, you know? Adomis started to peek at shields, so maybe there's some bounce back potential, but already this board is starting to look a bit bad, a bit scary, I mean. And Tornado Flame killing Charmeleon. Interesting, because if you kill the Madrillion Fish, you have a direct lethal path, but then again, maybe they didn't want to take the risk, because if you hit a Surfer, you just lose your entire board and you've thrown a game where you're super advantaged. So maybe you just want to take it a bit slow, because there's no rush right now, there's no like threatening creatures, and yeah, let's see what happens here. Aqua Surfer bouncing Bruiser Dragon, and yeah, Bruiser Dragon and Magma Dragon Megaris summoned here, and it's pretty much a game of Dragonoids trying to summon as many creatures as possible, and Block Rockers trying to summon as many blockers as possible, and let's see who outlives the other, I guess. They would really like to get a Neon Cluster, but Neon Cluster is in mana, so they would have to get like Thrash Crawler first, and that seems very, very slow. The thing is, like, Dragonoids is drawing a creature pretty much every single turn, whereas Block Rockers is not drawing a blocker necessarily every turn, although another Hazard Crawler here, so yeah, Spiral Gate as well. I think there's no cards in hand left for Block Rockers though, which is pretty bad. And Volcanodon is a problem as well, actually, because again he can take a shield for free, and that Fairy Life top deck is really not what you wanted to see. That is very sad from the Block Rockers deck. That's probably the worst top deck in the entire deck, and it seems like now they're thinking about swinging, because they haven't been able to get their big threats like the Neon Cluster and Cyforce and such, so maybe at this point you're thinking of just racing and going for shields. Though if you go for shields, you give them 2 creatures, and I think you just lose next turn, so I don't think it's correct to go for shields here, but maybe it's the only choice you have. Keep in mind that they know some of the shields because they've peeked at them with Adomis, but yeah, it's tough. It's a very tough position. I think you need like Chengpeng and maybe Cyforce to start wiping out those creatures, you know. Cyforce especially would be spectacular, because it cannot die to Comet Missile and it cannot die to anything. It can even go for shields. But there's a Phantom Dragon's Flame and Gazarius Dragon or Galberius Dragon, or however the fuck you say it. And actually Phantom Dragon's Flame deciding to kill Aqua Surfer. Interesting, again hedging against the possibility of a swing back, because I think Dragonoids knows that at this point, if they can just put up a creature every single turn, there is not much that deck can do about it. And yeah, Volcanodon, as we said, taking a shield because it can, and there's no shield trigger. Thrash Crawler taking back the big 6000 power blocker, which I think helps. It would be great to take back Neon Cluster, but I don't think you have the time to play that now, so I think you have to do that. And there we go, trading off Adomis for Volcanodon. There's 6 blockers and 5 attackers, but 2 more attackers, and look at the army of 4. When do you ever see that in Duel Masters? 4 of those dragons just on the board, staring them down, and they played the Sea Slug, so now there's 7 blockers and 7 attackers. Who's gonna top deck better? It seems like a Furious Onslaught top deck, which is really, really not what you wanted to see. Again, probably the only break in the entire deck at this point, so maybe that gives Block Rockers a chance to come back, but maybe that's justice after the Fairy Life top deck. Just bad top decks all around, but let's see what ooh, Chengpeng. Chengpeng is interesting because they can start wiping creatures. Next turn they can start mounting the comeback, but if they top deck now, and they do, it's a Phantom Dragon's Flame, and I think that means it's over because one of the blockers is gone. It is GG. So overall, an incredibly close game. One of the closest and probably more exciting games that we've had in this Precon tournament. I think like the Dragonoids deck last series as well, it won it by top decking Toto Pipichi with 2 dragons, which was just crazy. So yeah, the Rise of Dragonoids deck just barely getting by every round, but it is what it is. They made the semifinal. If you haven't checked out the other duels from the Precon bracket tournament, you should definitely go do that. I'll link it somewhere in the description, and I will be revealing the updated bracket on screen in just a couple of seconds. But again, if you want to go watch those duels, if you haven't already and don't want to get spoiled, you can turn off the video now. Take care.